The call came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was reviewing quarterly reports in my downtown office. I almost didn't answer the unknown number, but something made me pick up. "Hello, is this Sofia Martinez?" The woman's voice was professional but slightly uncomfortable. "Yes, this is Sofia. Hi, I'm Jennifer Walsh from Pristine Events. I'm the wedding planner for your brother David's wedding at the Ocean View Grand Resort." I set down my coffee cup. David hadn't spoken to me in months. Not since our last family dinner where he'd made it clear I wasn't welcome at family gatherings anymore. "Okay, what can I help you with?" "Well, this is rather awkward, but I received a call from your parents this morning. They've asked me to remove you from the guest list entirely." Her voice dropped slightly. They said, and I quote, "She's not family anymore and isn't needed at this celebration." I leaned back in my leather chair, gazing out at the city skyline through my floor-to-ceiling windows. "I see. And what did you tell them?" "I told them I'd handle it professionally. I'm calling all affected guests personally." She paused. "I'm sorry, Ms. Martinez. This must be difficult to hear." "That's very considerate of you, Jennifer. Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Are you happy with the Ocean View Grand Resort? Is everything meeting your expectations for the wedding?" She seemed surprised by the question. "Oh yes, absolutely. It's one of the most beautiful venues we work with. The staff has been incredible, the facilities are world-class. We're so fortunate they had availability for next Saturday. It's usually booked solid months in advance." "That's wonderful to hear. I'm glad David chose such a nice place." I picked up my phone and opened my contacts. "Jennifer, I need to make a quick call. Can I call you back in about 10 minutes? "Sure, that's fine. Again, I'm really sorry about this situation." After hanging up, I dialed my assistant. "Maria, I need you to connect me with Jonathan Pierce at Ocean View Grand Resort immediately." "Right away, Ms. Martinez." Within 2 minutes, Jonathan was on the line. As the general manager of the flagship property in my resort chain, he'd been expecting my call about the Martinez wedding booking. "Sofia, I got your message about reviewing the event for this weekend. How would you like me to handle this?" "Jonathan, I want you to call the wedding planner, Jennifer Walsh from Pristine Events, and inform her that due to a scheduling conflict, the resort needs to cancel the Martinez wedding. Full refund of all deposits, of course. Explain that we've had a last-minute corporate buyout event that requires the entire facility." "Understood. Should I offer alternative dates?" "No. Make it clear that we're unable to accommodate any future bookings for this particular client." I glanced at my watch. "Also, please ensure that our other 6 resort locations in the area are informed that we cannot accommodate this wedding at any of our properties." "I'll handle it immediately. Anything else?" "Yes, when you speak with Ms. Walsh, please be sure to mention that this decision came directly from the chain's owner. Don't elaborate beyond that." "Of course, Sofia. Consider it done." I hung up and waited. Exactly 8 minutes later, my phone rang. "Ms. Martinez? This is Jennifer Walsh again. I just received a very unexpected call from the resort." "Oh, what did they say?" "They're canceling the wedding. Complete cancellation. They said there's been a last-minute corporate event that requires the entire facility." Her voice was strained with stress. "This has never happened to me before. Never. I've been planning weddings for 12 years. "That's terrible, Jennifer. What did they say exactly?" The general manager said the decision came directly from the chain's owner. He was very apologetic but firm. No alternative dates, no other locations in their chain. Nothing. I could hear papers rustling. "Ms. Martinez, I have a wedding for 200 people in 5 days and I have no venue. I don't know what I'm going to do." "That does sound challenging. Did they give you any other details?" "Not really. Just that it was a corporate decision from someone high up the chain." She paused. "Wait, did you say your last name was Martinez? Like the wedding?" "Yes, David Martinez is my brother." "Oh my God. Ms. Martinez, I need to ask you something, and please forgive me if this sounds crazy, but do you happen to know anyone who works with this resort chain? Any connections that might help us understand what happened?" I smiled, looking at the framed photo on my desk from the ribbon-cutting ceremony when I'd acquired the Ocean View chain 3 years ago. "Jennifer, can I share something with you? Please, anything that might help." "The corporate buyout they mentioned? That would be my company. I'm the owner of the entire Ocean View resort chain." The line went completely silent for nearly 10 seconds. You own the resort chain? All 7 properties in the region, yes. I acquired them through my hospitality investment firm 3 years ago. But your family, they said you weren't family anymore. They made it sound like you were. She trailed off. Like I was what, Jennifer? Like you were struggling. Like you weren't successful. Your brother mentioned something about you having unrealistic dreams, and your parents said you were finally learning to be realistic about your limitations. I laughed, but not unkindly. Jennifer, can I ask you to do something for me? Yes, of course. Could you conference in my brother? I think there's been some miscommunication in my family that needs clearing up. Are you sure? I mean, I'm just the wedding planner. This seems very personal. Trust me, this is the best way to handle it. Can you call him now? A few minutes later, David's voice joined the call. Jennifer, what's going on? Please tell me you found a solution for the venue crisis. David, I have your sister Sophia on the line with us. What? Why? His tone immediately turned cold. Jennifer, I thought we made it clear that Sophia isn't involved in this wedding. We don't need her trying to insert herself into our celebration. David, I said calmly, Jennifer called to let me know I'd been removed from the guest list. Good. I'm glad she handled it professionally. We don't need any drama or attention-seeking behavior at my wedding. I agreed with that decision completely. No drama is important for such a special day. Jennifer's voice was tentative. David, there's something else we need to discuss about the venue. Right, this cancellation crisis. Jennifer, I don't care what it costs. Find us another high-end location. Money isn't an object. This is my wedding to Victoria, and it needs to be perfect. David, I interjected. Before Jennifer continues, can I ask you something? Make it quick, Sophia. I'm busy dealing with a real crisis here, not whatever imaginary problems you're having this week. When you booked the Ocean View Grand Resort, did you research who owns it? What does that matter? Some big corporation. The point is it's exclusive and expensive, which reflects well on our family's status. Jennifer's voice was barely above a whisper. David, your sister owns the resort chain. The line went silent again. That's impossible, David finally said. Sophia works some basic office job. She lives in a tiny apartment. She drives a 10-year-old car. David, I said gently, I live in a penthouse downtown and I take car service most places because I'm usually working during commutes. The car you've seen is my weekend car that I use for grocery runs. This is ridiculous. Sophia, stop making things up for attention. Jennifer, I said, could you please read David the exact message you received from the resort's general manager? I heard papers rustling. He said, and I wrote this down word for word. Due to a corporate decision from the chain owner, we cannot accommodate the Martinez wedding at any of our 7 regional locations. 7 locations? David's voice had changed. How many properties are we talking about? The Ocean View chain has 7 luxury resorts in our area, I explained. Including the Grand Resort where your wedding was planned, the Ocean View Palms where Victoria's bridal shower was held last month, and the Ocean View Marina where your rehearsal dinner was booked. Another long silence. Sophia, David said slowly, are you telling me you own all of those places? I own the entire chain, yes. I acquired them in 2021 through Martinez Hospitality Holdings. Martinez Hospitality Holdings? My investment company. I named it after our family. Jennifer's voice was getting stronger as she began to understand the situation. Ms. Martinez, when the general manager said the owner made this decision personally. That was me, yes. After Jennifer called to tell me my family had decided I wasn't family anymore, I decided to respect that decision by not hosting family events at my properties. This can't be real, David said, but his voice had lost its certainty. If you own this chain, prove it. Jennifer, are you still there? Yes, Ms. Martinez. Could you call the Ocean View Grand Resort back? Ask for Jonathan Pierce, the general manager. Tell him you need to confirm details about the ownership situation. Should I disconnect this call? No, use 3-way calling if you can. I think David should hear this directly. A few minutes later, Jonathan's familiar voice joined our conversation. Good afternoon, this is Jonathan Pierce. Mr. Pierce, this is Jennifer Walsh from Pristine Events. I'm here with David Martinez and his sister Sofia Martinez. There seems to be some confusion about the ownership of your resort chain. No confusion on our end, Jonathan said professionally. Ms. Sofia Martinez is the sole owner of all Ocean View Resort properties. She acquired our chain in 2021 and has been an exceptional owner. Is there something specific you need clarified? David's voice was barely audible. How much did those resorts cost? Jonathan paused. I'm not sure I can discuss financial details, but it was a significant acquisition. Over $200 million for the entire chain. The line went completely quiet except for the sound of David's heavy breathing. Mr. Martinez, Jonathan continued, I understand there was some confusion about the wedding booking. Ms. Martinez has instructed us to provide a full refund, which we're processing immediately. David, I said gently, are you still there? Sophia, I don't understand. How do you own a $200 million resort chain? Where did that money come from? I've been building my investment portfolio since college. I started with small property investments and grew from there. The resort chain was my largest acquisition, but I have holdings in several other industries as well. But Mom and Dad said you were struggling. They said your business ideas never worked out. They said that because I don't talk about my work with the family. Every time I've tried to share my successes, the response has been dismissive or the conversation gets changed to someone else's achievements. Jennifer's voice was hesitant. Should I leave you two to talk privately? Actually, Jennifer, I have a question for you, I said. How quickly could you find an alternative venue for David's wedding? Ms. Martinez with 5 days' notice and 200 guests? It would be nearly impossible to find something comparable to the Ocean View Grand. What if I told you I could guarantee you a venue that's even more exclusive? David's voice was sharp. Sophia, what are you doing? I'm being a good sister, David. Jennifer, there's an 8th Ocean View property that's not open to public bookings. It's my private resort on Catalina Island. I use it for executive retreats and special occasions. A private island resort? Jennifer's voice had gone up an octave. 40-acre property with a private beach, helicopter pad, and facilities for up to 300 guests. Full catering staff, event coordination, luxury accommodations for the wedding party and immediate family. David's voice was strained. Why would you, after everything we said? Because despite what happened today, you're still my brother. Anne Victoria deserves a beautiful wedding. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything right now, David. You're probably in shock. But here's what I propose. You and Victoria can have your wedding at my private resort, all expenses covered. Full luxury service, helicopter transport for the bridal party, everything you dreamed of and more. Jennifer was clearly taking notes. Ms. Martinez, this is incredibly generous. There's just one condition, I continued. David's voice was wary. What condition? I'd like to be invited to my brother's wedding. The silence stretched for nearly 15 seconds. Of course, David finally whispered. Of course you're invited. We need to talk. Really talk. We will. But first, let's make sure you have the wedding of your dreams. Jennifer, can you handle coordinating with my events team for the island property? Absolutely. Ms. Martinez, this is the most incredible turnaround I've ever experienced in my career. Jonathan, are you still on the line? Yes, Ms. Martinez. Please coordinate with Jennifer to arrange helicopter transport from your marina location to the island. Make sure the transition is seamless for all the guests. It would be my pleasure. After we'd finished coordinating the logistics, Jennifer and Jonathan left the call, leaving just David and me on the line. Sophia, David said quietly, I owe you the biggest apology of my life. David, we both made mistakes. I should have been more open about my success, and you should have asked more questions instead of making assumptions. But God, Sophia, we treated you terribly. All of us. Mom and Dad think you're struggling to pay rent. I know. I've been letting them think that because every time I tried to share good news, it was dismissed or minimized. It became easier to just let you all think what you wanted to think. How successful are you really? I looked around my office at the city view at the photos from various business acquisitions and charity events. My net worth is around $400 million, David. The resort chain is just one part of my portfolio. 400. He trailed off. Sophia, you're incredibly successful. I've been fortunate and I've worked very hard. All this time I thought you were just dreaming. That you hadn't figured out real life yet. I figured out real life differently than our family expected, but I did figure it out. David was quiet for a long moment. The wedding invitation. Sophia, that wasn't my idea. Mom and Dad convinced me that having you there would create drama, that you'd try to make the day about yourself. David, when have I ever tried to make family events about myself? Another long pause. Never. You've never done that. You usually sit quietly in the background. Exactly. I show up, I'm supportive, and I keep my own life private. Which we interpreted as failure instead of discretion. It seems that way. Sophia, can we start over? Can our family start over with you? I thought about all the years of dismissive comments, the assumptions, the way my achievements were minimized or ignored. But I also thought about David's voice right now, the genuine regret and shock. I'd like that, David. But it has to be genuine. No more assumptions about my life or my choices. And when I share something I'm proud of, I need it to be received with the same enthusiasm the family shows for everyone else's achievements. Absolutely. And Sophia, Victoria and we want to make this right. All of us. Then let's start with giving you both the most beautiful wedding celebration possible. You can make things right with the family afterward. The private island resort. Sophia, that's too generous. We can't accept something that expensive. I smiled, looking out at the city I'd helped reshape through my investments. David, it's not about the money. It's about family. And despite everything that's happened, you're still my family. We don't deserve this kindness. Maybe not, but you're getting it anyway. That's what family does. I need to call Victoria. Mom and Dad. They need to know. David, wait. Let me suggest something. Don't tell them about my business success yet. Let's just tell them the venue situation got resolved. After the wedding, when everyone's relaxed and happy, we can have a family conversation about everything. Why wait? Because right now they're going to be defensive and embarrassed. Let's give them a beautiful wedding celebration first, then address the bigger issues when emotions aren't running so high. You're probably right. You've always been the smart one in the family. We're all smart in different ways, David. We just haven't been very good at recognizing that in each other. 3 days later, I stood on the deck of my private resort, watching the sun set over the Pacific as the final preparations were completed for David's wedding. The island looked absolutely magical, with thousands of white lights strung between the palm trees, elegant seating arrangements on the beach, and a dance floor positioned perfectly to overlook the ocean. Victoria had cried when she first saw the setup. Sophia, this is more beautiful than anything I ever imagined. My parents had been quiet since arriving on the island, clearly overwhelmed by the luxury and exclusivity of the venue. They kept asking questions about how I'd arranged such an elaborate location, and I kept giving vague answers about having connections. The ceremony itself was perfect. David's vows brought tears to everyone's eyes, and Victoria looked absolutely radiant in her dress. As they exchanged rings with the ocean as their backdrop, I felt a genuine happiness for them that I hadn't expected after everything that had happened. During the reception, my father approached me at the bar. Sophia, this place, how did you manage to secure something like this? I've never seen anything so beautiful. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Dad. But the cost. This must have cost more than most people's houses. How are we going to pay for this? I smiled, sipping my champagne. Don't worry about the cost. It's handled. But Sophia, you can't afford something like this. Nobody can, except maybe billionaires. Dad, we agreed to have family conversations after the wedding. Tonight is about David and Victoria. He nodded, but I could see the questions churning in his mind. Later, during the dancing, my mother pulled me aside. Sophia, I need to apologize for the invitation situation. David told me what happened with the wedding planner. It's okay, Mom. No, it's not. We made assumptions about you, about your life, and we were wrong to exclude you. We can talk about all of this tomorrow. Tonight is about celebrating. But I feel terrible. You arranged this incredible celebration for David after we treated you so poorly. I looked around at the fairy tale setting, at David and Victoria dancing under the stars, at family members enjoying themselves in ways I'd rarely seen. Mom, seeing everyone happy like this is worth it. Family is complicated, but it's still family. You're a better person than any of us deserved. We all make mistakes. What matters is what we do moving forward. The next morning, the entire family gathered for brunch on the resort's main terrace. The atmosphere was relaxed, with everyone still glowing from the previous night's celebration. So, my father said, setting down his coffee cup, I think it's time for some honest family conversation. David and Victoria exchanged glances. Dad, there are some things about Sophia that we need to discuss. Like how she managed to arrange all of this luxury? Among other things, David said carefully. I took a breath. Before anyone says anything, I want to be clear that I didn't arrange this celebration to prove a point or make anyone feel bad. I did it because I love this family despite our communication problems. Communication problems? My mother raised an eyebrow. Mom, when was the last time you asked me about my work? Really asked, not just made polite conversation. She was quiet for a moment. I suppose I assumed if something important was happening, you'd tell us. I tried to many times. But every time I shared good news about my business, the conversation got redirected to someone else's achievements, or I was told I was being unrealistic. My father frowned. That's not true. We've always been supportive. Dad, 2 months ago I tried to tell you about a major business acquisition I'd completed. You told me I should focus on getting a stable job with benefits instead of chasing dreams. Victoria spoke up quietly. What kind of acquisition? I looked around the table at my family, these people I loved despite everything. I bought a chain of luxury resorts for $200 million. The silence was absolute. $200 million? My mother whispered. The Ocean View Resort chain. 7 properties, including the one where you originally booked the wedding. David leaned forward. Sophia, tell them the rest. I own the resort we're sitting on right now. This is my private island. My father set down his coffee cup with shaking hands. Your private island. Along with various other real estate investments, technology companies, and financial holdings. My total net worth is approximately $400 million. My mother stared at me for a long moment. $400 million. Yes. And we told people you were struggling. We worried about your future. We excluded you from family events because we thought you were unsuccessful. I know. My father's voice was barely audible. How long have you been? How long have you had this level of success? I've been building my portfolio for 8 years. The major growth happened in the last 4 years. 8 years, he repeated. And we never knew. Because every time I tried to share it, I was dismissed or told to be more realistic. Victoria reached across the table and took my hand. Sophia, this explains so much about how you carry yourself. You have this quiet confidence that I always admired but couldn't understand. I learned early that my family wasn't interested in hearing about my business success, so I stopped sharing it. My mother was crying now. We failed you so completely. You didn't fail me, Mom. We just had different definitions of success, and we never took the time to understand each other's perspectives. But we excluded you from your own brother's wedding because we thought you were an embarrassment. David's voice was thick with emotion. And instead, she's the most successful person in our entire extended family. Success isn't just about money, I said gently. You've all built relationships, careers, families. Those are successes too. But the money. My father was struggling with the concept. $400 million, Sophia. That's generational wealth. It is. And I intend to use it responsibly, including supporting family when appropriate. Supporting family? My mother looked up through her tears. Dad, your accounting firm has been struggling since the recession, right? He nodded slowly. Business has been tough. What if I told you I could connect you with clients who need exactly the kind of personalized service you provide? Small to medium-sized businesses that value the personal touch over big corporate accounting firms. You would do that? After how we treated you? You're my father. Of course I would do that. I turned to my mother. Mom, your nonprofit work with literacy programs. What's your biggest challenge right now? Funding, she said immediately. We have the volunteers and the demand, but not enough resources to expand our programs. What if funding wasn't an issue? What if you had enough resources to implement every program you've dreamed of? Her eyes widened. Sophia, you can't just solve our problems with money. I'm not solving your problems. I'm offering to provide resources so you can solve them yourselves. There's a difference. David was shaking his head in amazement. Sophia, you're talking about changing our entire family's trajectory. I'm talking about what family does for each other when they have the resources and the opportunity. But we don't deserve this, my father said firmly. We treated you terribly. Deserve is a complicated word, Dad. Do any of us really deserve the good things that happen to us? Or do we just try to be grateful and use our opportunities responsibly? Victoria was wiping away tears. You're incredible. The way you're handling this, the grace you're showing. I've never seen anything like it. I've had time to think about this moment, I admitted. I knew eventually the truth about my success would come out. I decided long ago that when it did, I wanted to handle it with love instead of anger. My mother reached for my hands. How do we make this right? How do we rebuild our relationship with you? By starting fresh. By asking questions instead of making assumptions. By celebrating each other's successes instead of minimizing them. By being a family that lifts each other up instead of tearing each other down. Can you forgive us? My father asked. I looked around the table at these imperfect people who had raised me, supported me in their own limited ways, and yes, sometimes hurt me with their assumptions and dismissiveness. But they were also the people who had taught me values, encouraged my education, and shaped me into someone capable of building the success I'd achieved. There's nothing to forgive, Dad. There's only moving forward together. David raised his champagne glass. To moving forward together. And to Sophia, who taught us what real grace looks like. As we toasted, I felt something I hadn't experienced with my family in years. Genuine connection, honest communication, and hope for our future together. Later that afternoon, as the family prepared to return to the mainland, Victoria hugged me tightly. Thank you for giving us the most beautiful wedding imaginable. But more than that, thank you for giving our family a second chance. Thank you for welcoming me back into it, I replied. As the helicopter lifted off with my family aboard, I stood on the beach and watched them disappear into the sky. Tomorrow we'd begin the real work of rebuilding our relationships. There would be awkward conversations, learning curves, and probably some missteps along the way. But for the first time in years, I felt like I had my family back. And that was worth more than all the business success in the world. My phone buzzed with a text from David. Thank you for everything. But mostly, thank you for being the sister we didn't deserve but somehow got lucky enough to have. I smiled, looking out at the ocean, and typed back. Thank you for being my family. Always.